All right, joining us is Dr. Kinvraj Jangid. He is with the O.P. Jindal Global University, but he's joining us now from Tel Aviv. Dr. Jangid, welcome to DD India News Hub. Now, first up, is regime change probable in Iran? But before you answer it, may I put the question in its proper context for our viewers? Now, Netanyahu says he has three main objectives. One, the elimination of Iran's nuclear program. Two, the elimination of Iran's ballistic missile production capability, and three, the elimination of the so-called axis of terrorism. Dr. Jangid.
Namaskar.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, you read out the list very well. And Benjamin Netanyahu, as it happened in the case of Gaza, added things to this list in the last 3 days. When Israel started the war, it started the war with a very stated agenda for almost a decade, that what it fears in Iran is the nuclear technology and the nuclearization of weapons, but doesn't have any interest in a regime change. But this is the opportunity. The way Israel touched fortunes by accident in Lebanon, when Hezbollah was in a way weakened and completely eliminated, and Syria. So I think after 5 days, Israel definitely has the edge. Iran has been caught in a very, very surprise, and Iran hasn't been able to retaliate. I have been here for 5 days. You were reading out news about students of India leaving Iran. There are more than 5,000 students of India in Israel at the moment, and we don't hear any kind of even a video call calling for an evacuation, because inside Israel, even if these missiles have come in the 5 days, they haven't really created a large-scale panic. In certain neighborhoods, it caused deaths. So far, Israelis lost 24 people, but situation inside Israel is far more stable than maybe it is not what is shown in the media. So I think Israel really wants to now maximize its advantage and edit this thing. And I'll tell you this, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, when the war started, the defense minister and the national security advisor said this, that we do not target any political leaders of Iran. We are not interested in the political class. We will only target IRGC commanders and those who are directly handling the nuclear program. So the elimination of other political or regime change is something that I think Israel is now tempted about.
Right. From your vantage, Dr. Jangid, are we looking at a new West Asia? Netanyahu says Israel is changing the face of West Asia, and as you mentioned, after Gaza, Lebanon and Syria, perhaps Iran is the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle that will complete it for Israel?
Yes, from a very realist and a strategic point of view, Iran has been the most strong declared anti-Zionist or anti-Israel actor in the region. And yes, even if Israel failed miserably in Gaza, even if Israel hasn't been able to defeat Hamas, it achieved something very significant in the territories which are in Syria and Lebanon. So Israel is in a very self-paradox. I mean, on one hand, it has remarkable victories that are changing the region. And yes, region will look really very different and new if Iran is really not able to survive this attack. Maybe the regime will fall, but even if the regime doesn't fall and Iran makes a painful compromise deal with America, as news is coming up in the last 2 days, that yes, Iranians have reached out to the Arab mediators and they want to get back to the deal. Now, Israel isn't interested. Israel, I think in the last 2 days has got tempted to regime change, but we don't know. I think Israel will be able to change the landscape of the region, even if it's failing in Gaza.
Fair enough. Now, going back to Netanyahu's first objective, the elimination of Iran's nuclear program, Dr. Jangid, reports say Israel's attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities at Natanz, for example, might not have destroyed the underground structure. Now, we are told that Iran does not In fact, Israel does not have the wherewithal, the bunker buster bombs that the US possesses to penetrate nuclear facilities. Will the US give Israel those bunker busters?
This is really in everybody's mind right now. Fordo is that site which is under a mountain and deep in the ground. And Israel cannot even reach there. So the hope that Trump will join and provide this bomb to Israel is very radical hope, because that means Trump is going to be very sure that Iranian regime will not survive, and he's providing the last straw. He wouldn't do that unless he knows something is radically, in a way, changing in the region. He will have to trust his own intelligence, American administration, not Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu does have a personal interest in pulling America into this war. And Donald Trump doesn't really want to get dragged into it. So that would be a decisive moment in the next, let's say, a week.
Right. And the next big question confronting much of the world as we speak, Dr. Jangid, is, does Iran want a nuclear weapon? Or will we know about it post facto, after Iran has gone nuclear? And two, how close is Iran to getting to a bomb? Israel says Iran is racing towards a bomb, but the US intelligence report says Iran is years away. So what's the truth?
Nobody knows the truth about the Iranian nuclear program. Netanyahu has been saying for last 10 years that Iran is weeks away from nuclear bomb. This very famous speech that he gave at UN showing a cardboard.
Right.
But anyway, I think as an Indian, what is very interesting is to understand the Iranian temptation for the nuclear weapons. Iran does want to be nuclear the way India wanted to be nuclear against the Western wishes. Ramesh, it's true. NPT was an unfair arrangement, and it remains an unfair arrangement for many non-Western countries. The Western countries didn't abolish their nuclear weapons, and they wanted nobody else to get this privilege.
Right.
As India got nuclear under American sanctions to fulfill its sovereign wish, Iran has the same legit right. And India, that's why, supported this till about 2008, when India had to go for Indo-US nuclear deal, and then it started voting against the Iranian nuclear program at the United Nations. So in principle and in practice, Iranian nuclear program doesn't threaten the world peace. However, Iranian foreign policy got something more than the nuclear ambition. It got this complete anti-Americanism, it got this complete anti-negation, negation of the Israeli state, and a very declared war against the state of Israel. So Israel has reason to fear an existential war with Iran, because it doesn't recognize or it doesn't even accept the Israeli state, and it created these proxies in the region for the last 2 decades to fight against Israel. So I think had Iran, let's say, had Iran been India, it didn't threaten another state like Israel, it didn't create proxies in the Middle East to threaten other Sunni Arab states, had it not have this Shia revolution to scare other sections of the Muslim societies. And by the way, in 1950s, the very first nuclearization in Iran happened with the American and the French assistance. There was a Shah of Iran from 1953 till 1979. And they called that collaboration, it was a collaboration between American, French, and the Iranian Shah. And they called it Atoms for the Peace. Iran at that time was an ally of America. It was also working against the Soviet agenda in the region. Iran was very close ally of Israel. Iran was the main oil supplier to Israel till 1979. So in those good days, the West was actually happy to help Iran get nuclear. But when 1979 revolution happened and they turned all against the Americans, Americans started having a problem with this nuclearization.
Indeed. A fascinating exposition there. Just one quick question, Dr. Jangid, before we wrap up. It's a twofold, two-part question. First, what is the stance of Russia and China on the Iran-Israel hostilities? Number one. Number two, talking about Pakistan, is Pakistan playing both sides? Running with the hare and hunting with the hounds?
Let's start with, I think, more relevant players, Russia and China. Russia and China don't have a stand. They have a one policy: to help any country that does anti-Americanism in the Middle East. So yes, China and Russia predictably have been supporting Iranian program, not because they really care about what the Shia revolution is going to do in the region, what the other Arab states got to worry about it. So Russia is playing an opportunistic foreign policy since the time of the Cold War.
Right.
So I think there's nothing more nuanced in their foreign policy. China has turned against Israel to its, to Israel's disappointment, because Israel really banked upon China and invested a lot in China for the last 2 decades. But now they realize that China is never going to really be a fair or a favorable, actor. So I think Russia, China are playing very powerful role. But the problem now is that Russia is in a war that it is not getting out, and China is really not sure it can save a very losing Iran, meaning Iran is losing the war with Israel. And we haven't heard anything from China so far.
Right.
Though, in fact, 10 years back or 8 years back, I don't remember, China signed a very strategic treaty with Iran. And under that obligation, China is supposed to provide something to Iran. But China has really completely not taken responsibility for Iranian, national security in this episode.
Right.
And Pakistan, I wouldn't say much. It's really not a country that anybody takes seriously in the region or in the Western world.
All right, fair enough. We'll wrap it up, Dr. Jahangir. Thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives
Thank you so
with our
much.
viewers around the world. Thank you. Thank you.